How's everyone? Grant here. Welcome back to another camera comparison video. This time I've got the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II up against the Google Pixel 5. Now this will be a more point and shoot style comparison in auto mode. The Sony was shot with the Camera Pro app in auto mode, and I do this because I want to show off the capabilities straight out of the box. I think a lot of people do take pictures and have expectations and trying to get the best possible photo in more of a point and shoot style. Now, there's a lot of other videos that go into more of the manual capabilities on the Sony, and so I highly suggest you go ahead and check those videos out. But as I usually do, I'm going to shoot this in good light and low light in both photos and videos to give you the best possible idea of how both of these phones perform in a point and shoot style. So let's go ahead and take a look at the photos, and I'll come back at the end and I'll let you know how I thought each of these phones performed. Hey everyone, so here's a rear video test from the Pixel 5 and Xperia 1 Mark II. This is being shot at 1080p 30 frames per second. And while you cannot change between the lenses once you start recording on the Xperia 1 Mark II, you can do that on the Pixel 5. So there's quick ultra wide there on the Pixel 5 and back to the main wide angle lens. So right now, obviously this is at the main wide lens on both. And you can kind of see the difference between the shadows and the trees here on both of these, as well as some of the colors. As we pan around here, you can see the fall colors start to come in. And we'll do a bit of a zoom test here. So 2 times there on the Pixel 5, and I'll pinch to zoom to get to 2 times here on the Sony. Let's get that there, 2 times zoom. And I can go to 5 times digital on the Pixel 5 and max 3 times there on the Sony. So I'll back that out on both. And we'll do a bit of a autofocus test here with the Pixel 5 first. So focus right up on that post and refocuses away quickly. So really quick autofocus and refocus here from the Pixel 5. And we'll go with the Xperia 1 Mark II. And I've demonstrated this in other videos. You kind of have to get the focusing or the minimum focusing distance correct. Start to see it come in and out of focus. If I tap the focus, it'll focus right up like you can see there. So I'll move away and it refocuses away. But let's try to come back in. And it kind of focused up there, but kind of gets out of focus until I tap again. There you go. Refocus away, and one more time with Xperia. And we'll try to get the distance right. And we'll just tap, and it focuses in really nicely there. So a lot slower on the focus from the Xperia for some reason. And we'll do a stabilization test. I'll walk down the stairs here. And I think both of these stabilization should be doing great on the Sony as well as the Pixel. And here's some of those fall colors on all these trees now coming in. And I'll pan around the park so you can kind of see how it handles into that afternoon light there. Okay, and here we go with the same test, this time at 4K 30 frames per second. Again with the main wide angle lens here on both. And I'll pan over here so you can see some of the fall colors right there, how that contrasts with the greenery and that blue sky. And I'll fully pan over here to the right and we'll do a zoom test in 4K. So 2 times with the Pixel. And pinch to zoom in to about 2 times on the Sony. And I'll go up to 5 times digital on the Pixel and still max 3 times there on the Sony, although it's looking really nice and crisp in the viewfinder. So we'll back those both out. And autofocus test here at 4K, again first with the Pixel 5, still nice and quick, same with the refocus, so still nice and snappy here on the Pixel 5. Now with the 1 Mark II, and that's a little bit faster. And so I noticed it does focus up for some reason a little bit faster at 4K and without the need to always tap to focus. You can see there, refocus and one more time. So there you go. So a little bit better here in 4K for whatever reason. And we'll go ahead and do a stabilization test here in 4K, which again, both should be doing very well with Sony Steady Shot and the Pixel stabilization here. So pull up and one last pan around the park here, again into that afternoon sun. Everyone, so I'm going to do a quick stabilization test. The Pixel 5 has active stabilization built in, so it should be steadier than the normal regular stabilization, and that's going to restrict video to 1080p. And I've got the Sony going with its normal Sony Steady Shot there at 1080p as well. So we'll see if the Pixel 5 active stabilization is any better than the standard stabilization that there is on the Xperia 1 Mark II here. And I'll start running to really stress it out so we can start to see if it keeps it any more stable while trying to stress it while running some more. So quick stabilization test, let me know if you saw any difference there. Hey everyone, here's a front-facing camera test of the Pixel 5 and the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II. This is being shot at 1080p, 30 frames per second. That's the highest frame rate and resolution for both these front-facing cameras here. And as you can see, I'm in the shade, so the video quality should be pretty decent, but I'll go ahead and pan around so you can kind of see what the changing lighting conditions does to this video quality. Here you can see the afternoon sun is behind me. You can see some of those fall leaves coming in there, what that picture quality looks like there. And I'll go all the way around and we'll start walking and test some of the stabilization here to give you an idea of what the picture and the video quality looks like here while walking. So let me know. This is the front-facing camera of the Pixel 5 and the Xperia 1 Mark II. Let me know what you think of the video quality here.
Get it.
Everyone, so here's a bit of a low light test on the Pixel 5 and Xperia 1 Mark II. You can see here the sun just went down, so we're a little bit into blue light or blue hour, and as I pan down here you'll see the exposure adjust, so it's not really that dark. And I'll pan back around so you can kind of see what it looks like in the lighting this way, and I'll start walking, so we'll test stabilization here in this light. And I'm sorry if my voice is a bit muffled, but I am wearing a mask out here in public. But hopefully this gives you a bit of idea of how it looks like in some reasonable lighting. So normally I do these in pretty dark situations, but this is just after sunset, where you might consider still shooting some video. And these are actually pretty good lighting conditions to be shooting in, so that you can kind of see what that exposure looks like on both here with that focus. And so there you go, just a quick 1080p clip here and a little bit after sunset. Hey everyone, so here's a little bit darker scene here, this time at 4K 30 frames per second on each phone. As you can pan over here, I'll pan up into that bright light so you can see how it handles that really bright street light there. And from at least the viewfinder, it looks like both phones are handling it pretty well. Other phones have a lot more flaring going on. And so I'll do a little bit of zoom here in these darker conditions, and that's 2 times on the Pixel, and we'll pinch to zoom to 2 times there on the Sony. And I can go max zoom here on the Pixel to 5 times, and a max 3 times there on the Sony. So that's what that looks like there, and we'll punch back out here on each phone. And I'll pan around this way, and we'll start walking to test the stabilization here in 4K. Also to see how each of these phones handle the changing lighting conditions here. So that was obviously some fairly decent lighting there. And as I walk this way, you'll see it get a lot darker. Also look out for micro jitters as I'm walking. As it gets darker, usually you'll start to see more jitters as you move around. And as around this corner, you'll see it's pretty dark out this way. And I'll stop here, and I'll move up into the dark night sky. You can see there, it's pretty dark. And I'll pan around this way, which is a little bit more lit. And the viewfinder, the Pixel looks like it's doing a little bit better as far as brightness. Some may prefer the darker look of the Sony, truer to life. But there's just a quick clip in some darker conditions in 4K on both phones. Hey everyone, here's a low light test of the front facing cameras between the Pixel 5 and Xperia 1 Mark II. And of course these both top out at 1080p 30 frames per second, so that's what you're seeing here. And again, it's a fairly well lit area here. You can see some of the bright lights behind me, at least in the viewfinder. The Pixel 5 is flaring that light out a bit more than the Xperia 1 Mark II is. But I'll go ahead and start walking so we can start testing out the stabilization here on each of these front facing cameras. And I'll also be going over to a little bit darker area here so we can see how these front facing cameras handle that lighting transition from that fairly well lit area to a little bit darker area here. And there's gonna be a water fountain, so there's gonna be some of that noise competing for the sound of my voice. So you can kind of see how the audio does here on each of these cameras as well because of that. And I'll go ahead and pan around this way so you can see some of the really bright lights behind me. Again, how each camera is handling those lights. And I'll pan back around into a bit more dark area here to finish the video off so you can kind of see how each of the front facing cameras are handling a little bit darker area here. But either way, let me know what you think about the low light here in the Pixel 5 and the 1 Mark II front facing cameras. Alright, so now that you've seen all the photos and videos for yourself, let me know in the comments which phone you thought did better, which one do you prefer, and why. I've done camera comparisons with both of these phones, and I think my opinion has really not changed here. The Pixel strong suit obviously is going to be more point and shoot. It's full auto, no pro mode, and it does really well there. It's going to give you the most consistent and best quality results in a point and shoot style. So if you're more about efficiency, you just want to point, shoot, click, and get the best possible photo, you're definitely going to like the Pixel 5. And in my personal opinion, it's no surprise that, to me personally, the Pixel 5 won here. I personally prefer that, and that's just my own preference. Now, the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II, like I've said in other videos, I think it's done a really good job at achieving what it set out to do, which is to improve photos through its Camera Pro app. So I think taking still photos with the Sony looks great, stood toe-to-toe with the Pixel 5, and if you're really into macro photography and you like more of that nice natural bokeh or blurred background effect, you're gonna like the Sony with its larger sensor, no portrait mode needed. Now, everything beyond that is where Sony really needs to improve, and especially in its video quality. It has a Cinema Pro app, but you can't just take and shoot through the standard app, good quality video. I think it still needs to improve there. The front-facing camera has not been paid attention to. It really needs some improvement there. And a lot of the other point and shoot convenience features that people like, Sony I think needs to improve upon. Things like in actual portrait mode and actual night mode. I understand you can take long exposure shots through its auto mode even on its Camera Pro or even its normal standard app. It's just not going to look as good with more of a focused, dedicated computational photography approach to night mode. So all that being said, I realize that's not what Sony tried to do here with Xperia 1 Mark II, but hopefully now that they've kind of got the still photos down, that they start to improve those other areas in future iterations. And so again, I didn't really think that there would be much doubt as to who would win this battle in a point and shoot style, but I just thought I wanted to do it just to give you a perspective on what those results look like. I know a lot of people are focusing on the manual mode on the Sony, which is why I'm doing this video. There's not a lot of attention to point and shoot style, and I understand why people do that. That was Sony's focus, but again, I just wanted to provide you this perspective of someone who's a more hobbyist, casual photographer and just wants to point and shoot. So again, that's just my opinion and what I think here, but again, it's really more important to see what you have to think. Leave a comment down below and let's have a productive conversation down there. And as always, thanks for watching.